Hello guys, welcome to Koa Academy, and in this video we'll be talking about a very important concept in economics, and that is consumerism. We'll be discussing the examples of consumerism, the advantages and disadvantages, or the positive and negative impacts of consumerism. So, what is the definition of consumerism? Well, consumerism is the idea that increasing the consumption of goods and services is always a desirable goal, and that a person's well being and happiness depends fundamentally on obtaining more consumer goods and material possessions. So basically, the modern world and the allied concept of consumerism is that you become happy in this modern world only if you have more of the material possessions and you consume more. You consume more, like you have more cars, you have luxury houses, you have luxury cars, and this way you become ultimately this is the only way that you can become happy, and this is what your well-being is all about, that is you consume more. So this is essentially what consumerism is. Moving on, there some examples of consumerism. For example, you buy a car for each of your kids when they can share. So when the basic purpose of car is to go from one place to another, and all your kids can do so in one car, but you make each of your kids, you buy them, each one of them, a car. So that is consumerism, because you are going excess from what you could have done with one car. Moving on, for example, if state hospitals can accommodate you, but you go to private hospitals just because they are slightly better, so that also comes under the umbrella of consumerism. When you buy a big house, whereas you can live in a smaller house. I mean, a small house is as good as a big house when it comes to living, but you go for big houses because they are more luxurious and spacious. So that is also an example of consumerism. Buying a bigger and more luxurious car instead of an economical car, once again, it's an example of consumerism. Moving on, the positive impacts of consumerism. Remember that when more goods are consumed, it means that it it increases the economic output and creates jobs. More consumption means more production. So when companies produce more, it means that there is more economic output, and of course, more people are needed to produce those goods, which means that there is job creation. Consumerism also leads to increase in wealth for companies. Remember that when consumers consume more, companies need to produce more, and when they produce more, the wealth of the company increases. Consumerism promotes competition between companies, because since consumers are looking for better goods and there are various companies which provide those goods, the competition is very intense to get a bigger share of the customer. That is, to make sure that you are the one from whom the customer purchases. Consumerism also allows for a large variety of goods and services. Once again, it's related to competition, because in order to cater to the needs of the consumers, firms create differentiation and create variety in their goods, that okay, their good is superior because of this and this. So that's how consumerism leads to variety. And lastly, it improves the quality of life for people. Of course, some people argue that the more material possessions you have and the more quality goods you consume, naturally the quality of your life improves. But of course, quality of life is also associated with certain psychological factors, but people with this school of thought ignore those psychological factors. So, talking about the negative impacts of consumerism. Consumerism, first of all, causes pollution, because when more goods are produced, the more resources and raw materials are used to produce the goods. For example, in the production of cars, different metals are used, and when those cars are used, then more fossil fuels are used for petroleum and oil. Similarly, number two, a major contributor to resource depletion. Remember that when more and more resources are consumed to produce the goods and services, ultimately resources are scarce and they deplete. Number three, consumerism also leads companies to develop low quality products. A case in point would be that the mobile phones, if you see the batteries of the mobile phones, they are not built of a very high quality, and because you would change your phone after every 2 to 3 years, because the battery of the your mobile phone would drain in a very very limited time. So companies sometimes who have monopoly in the markets, they create lower quality products so that consumers buy their products again and again. Fourthly, consumerism promotes poor labor standards and pay for workers. So once again, companies when they see that demand is high, they tend to produce more, and in order to earn big bucks, they also pay their laborers very low amount, and that's why labor suffer in consumerism. And lastly, consumerism does not necessarily leads to increased happiness beyond a certain point. Just I mentioned earlier that there are certain psychological factors also that contribute to your happiness. For example, if you would see there are multiple billionaires, sometimes they are not happy, and despite the fact that they have all the material resources at their disposal, because material welfare or the possession of material things is only one aspect of happiness, and a peace of mind, like you have more time at your disposal, these are also the things that contribute to happiness. Family life, these are also things that contribute to happiness, and material possessions are not a replacement to those factors. So that's it about consumerism. For more videos, do subscribe to the channel. You can also visit the playlist in my channel where you will see different videos about different topics on economics, finance, accounting, and modern business trends. So do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.